Parasites are demons, and when you start to compare the two, you'll see there's a lot of similarities. Parasites don't just invade your body, they hijack your nervous system, control us very easily. By definition, both are known to control their hosts and manipulate behavior. I mean, look at these things. They can influence your thoughts, the types of foods you crave, encourage sexual desires, even your dreams. So it's very possible these parasites act as antennas or conduits for these demonic entities. Archons, jinn, demons, whatever you want to call them. But think about it. Why else is there fast food, alcohol, and junk on every street corner? And then you combine that with pesticides, fungicides, microplastics, heavy metals. Think about what kind of influences you could be under. These are the sources of addiction. This is why people can't break those bad habits or those vices. You ask yourself, why'd you do that? Why'd you eat that? Why do you keep doing those things you know are bad for you? Is it you, or is it the parasite forcing that self-destructive behavior? Now, even the Bible says some demons can only be casted out through fasting. Anyone who's done a deep fast knows those shakes of abstaining from certain foods. You're like a drug addict being revealed your true addictions. But then it gets easier as you starve those demons out. So this is what no one tells you about a parasite cleanse. Killing the parasites is just the first step. You still have to flush them out of your system, otherwise you're left with a bunch of dead worms inside.
All right, Shalom. I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth. And Shalom to the hopeful elect. This article here is from americasfirstreport.com. The headline reads, How the FDA lets dangerous chemicals into the U.S. food supply. So the bottom line is this. We are all literally dying underneath this man's rule. And our bodies are full of toxins, poisons, and parasites. So the only solution to this problem is deliverance by Yahweh Shai. Matthew 24, verse 22, it says, And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, right? Because if Esau had it his way, okay, he would unalive everybody. And this is all part of the plan. This is what he's doing. All right, he's making us sick through the food. All right, the chemicals, the poisons. As we just saw the video dealing with the parasites. All right, we need to be delivered out of Babylon, man. We need new bodies ASAP, right? Matthew 24, verse 22, and except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. This is Psalms 97 and 10. It says, Ye that love the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, hate evil. Okay, this is evil, man. Okay, the FDA letting dangerous chemicals into the U.S. food supply. Okay, wickedness. Ye that love the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, hate evil. He preserveth the souls of his saints. He delivereth them out of the hand of the wicked. All right, the wicked is tied back to you Edomites, man. That's the only solution we have is for Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai to come save us, man. You see? Let's get into this video here.
Lining the shelves of American supermarkets are food products with chemicals linked to health concerns. There are at least 950 substances in our food that are not permitted in Europe, according to Eric Millstone, who has been studying food safety policy since the 1970s. Why is this? To a great extent, the FDA allows food companies to determine for themselves whether their ingredients and additives are safe. Companies don't have to tell the FDA about those decisions, and they don't have to list all ingredients on their product labels. Instead, companies can use broad terms such as artificial flavors. Though pharmaceutical companies are required to share research on humans with the FDA, the agency is largely blind to what food makers know about their products.
The food industry does massive amounts of research that we have no access to.
As a result, the FDA's oversight of food additives is much weaker than its oversight of prescription drugs. A gap in the FDA's oversight of foods goes back generations. In 1958, Congress mandated that before additives could be used in foods, manufacturers had to prove they were safe and get FDA approval. However, Congress carved out an exception for substances generally recognized as safe, which became known simply as GRAS. As conceived, GRAS promised regulatory relief for standard ingredients like salt, sugar, vinegar, and baking powder. Over time, the loophole swallowed the law. At his confirmation hearing to head the FDA, Marty McCary expressed concern about foods
with a lot of molecules that do not appear in nature.
A panel of scientists connected to an industry group called the Flavor and Extract Manufacturers Association has deemed about 3,000 flavoring ingredients as GRAS. The Grass Loophole has allowed potentially harmful ingredients to slide through the cracks. One company said in 2023 it had received self-GRAS status for an extract of this hallucinogenic mushroom, Amanita muscaria. In a memo last fall, an FDA toxicologist said extracts of the mushroom have potential for serious harm. A KFF poll found that 58% of respondents want the Trump administration to prioritize setting stricter limits on chemicals in the U.S. food supply. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. wants to close or tighten the Grass Loophole. He has railed against the risks of food additives for years and has said he wants to end
the mass poisoning of American children.
Whether changes come from the FDA or the food companies, it's clear that Americans are becoming more concerned about what they're buying.
Yeah, see, this is what happens when you have the bases of men ruling over the food supply, man. All right, Sirach 10:3 says, "An unwise king destroyeth his people." All right, and that's going back to the elites of Esau, man. Okay, they're destroying their own people. Okay, through the food, through the water, through the air, the chemtrails, the fluoride in the water, the arsenic, everything, the microplastics. Okay, this is why this society is on its way out. An unwise king destroyeth his people, but through the prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited. Right, and this is why the world is waiting for the righteous, the elect, to be put back in authority. Right. Proverbs 29:2. Proverbs 29:2 says, "When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked bear rule, the people mourning." The people mourn. All right. So the earth and the people in it are in the state of mourning. Okay. The society is in the state of death. Okay. An unwise king destroyeth his people, man. Okay. Just want to read a little bit of this real fast. All right. This is from news.harvard.edu. It says, "Why are Americans so sick?" And you know, everybody across America is dying, is sick. You know, the explosion of turbo cancers. Okay. These different ailments of the body. And it all goes back to the food that we're consuming, man. Because me and the Elder Yashawamba was talking about, you know, our diets and, you know, inflammation in the body. You know, how the food has definitely changed. It doesn't even taste the same, right? Just how this food doesn't break down in our bodies. Everything that we consume on a daily basis is death, right? It says, "Why are Americans so sick?" Researchers point to middle grocery aisles. It says obesity, and this is from December 2023. It says obesity and disease rising with consumption of ultra-processed foods, says Chan School panelist. It says according to the Centers for Disease Control, more than 40% of Americans are obese, right? And everybody's big as hell these days, man. You know, even children. And many struggle with comorbidities such as type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. What is making us so sick? The ultra-processed foods that make up the bulk of American diet are among the major culprits, according to an online panel hosted by Harvard's T.H. Chan School of Public Health last week. Experts from Harvard and the National Institutes of Health joined journalist Larissa Zimberoff author of Technically Food Inside Silicon Valley's Mission to Change What We Eat. Okay? So you got these fucking technocrats, okay, manipulating the food and altering, the food that we eat. It says, to discuss why the processing of cereals, breads, and other items typically found in middle aisles of the grocery store may be driving American weight gain. Okay. Let's jump to this one. All right. So you get it. All right. Here's another one. This is from harvardpublichealth.org. Processed foods are making us sick. It's time for the FDA and the USDA to step in. But see, as we saw here, all right, dealing with the FDA, okay, they're the ones that's responsible for allowing the dangerous chemicals to be put in the food. And it's crazy because I always wondered this, when you hear about, all the chemicals and the preservatives and things that's in the food, it's like, well, who the hell is allowing this to be put in the food? It's these damn devils, because we know that the elites, they control, the FDA, all right, which is the Food and Drug Administration, all right? So this is all part of the plan to essentially, depopulate the earth, okay? And they're doing a good job at it, right? It says chronic food illnesses kill up to 678,000 Americans a year. It says federal law requires policymakers to take action, all right? But the policymakers are the ones that's allowing this shit. Again, the hypocrisy of these Edomites, man. Harvard professor Gerald Mandy argues what's missing is funding and leadership, man. Right? But this is all intentional, man, as we already know. Okay, federal food law is clear. It bans any poisonous or deleterious substance which may render a food injurious to health. But we just saw the video. The FDA is allowing it. For decades, regulators have used that provision mostly to crack down on food contaminated with toxic chemicals and microbes such as Listeria and Salmonella that can make us acutely ill. It's important to protect people from these harms, but let's also put them in perspective. These regulated contaminants kill an estimated 1,400 Americans per year. By contrast, 1,600 Americans die every day from chronic food illnesses such as obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. All right, and these things are rampant right now. It says, in recent years, evidence has mounted that these chronic illnesses are caused by deleterious substances in ultra-processed foods. From heat and eat meals such as frozen pizza to sweetened breakfast cereals, ultra-processed foods are industrial formulations of ingredients from substances extracted from foods or synthesized in laboratories. They are also staples in our diets. Okay, it says, let's read a little bit more. It says, it is time for the U.S. Food and Drug Administration and U.S. Department of Agriculture to use their authority under federal law to protect us from these highly processed foods, which we see that's not the case. They're allowing it. Again, the unwise king, destroyer of his people. It says this would be a paradigm shift, but it's also common sense. FDA and the USDA must make at least as much effort preventing chronic food illnesses as they do to acute food illnesses. About 678,000 Americans die each year from chronic food illnesses. That toll is higher than all our combat deaths in every war in American history combined. That's right. There are more deaths each year from our food than all the combat deaths from the Revolutionary War through the wars of Afghanistan and Iraq, man. This shit is crazy, man. Again, the only solution is deliverance, man. Yahweh Shai has to get us, right? Ezekiel chapter 4, verse 13, it says, "And the Lord Yahweh Shai said, even thus shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread among the Gentiles, whether I will drive them." Right. So that's part of the curses, that we would eat our food defiled, man. Okay, defiled meaning it's against our dietary laws. Okay, so it's like, nobody really knows what the hell we eating, man. And this is why, as we just read, more people are dying from American foods than the Revolutionary Wars and the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, man. Okay, again, this society is a society of death, man. Okay, Esau the Edomite, the so-called white man, is the harbinger of death, man. Okay, Micah 2:10, "Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest. America, Babylon is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you even with a sore destruction." So there's no way around it, man. All right, the parasites, the toxins, the poisons, all in the food, the water, the air. All right, every aspect of our being in this world all revolves around death. You see?
Oh, we're not telling people what to eat. We're just telling people to knock off putting poison in what we eat. Vani Hari is a New York Times best-selling author and health activist known as the Food Babe. All right, Food Babe, what are they putting in our food?
They're putting all kinds of chemicals that are banned and heavily regulated in other countries. American iconic companies are using ingredients that are safer and better in other countries while serving us the more toxic, poisonous version. We have the biggest cereal companies in the United States feeding our kids artificial food dyes that they don't use in countries like Australia, Canada, all of Europe, in India. It's a travesty that we allow our own American food companies to do this. And you can see what happened yesterday at the Senator Bernie Sanders hearing, how the FDA has been asleep at the wheel. They are not holding these food companies accountable. And it's activists like me that have to do this work. And it's really sad. Our politicians and our elected officials should be doing this work.
You see? So like I said before, all right, there's no way that life can be prolonged in this society, by what's going on with the food supply. There's no way that this can happen. All right. So that's how you know, again, that, we don't have much time left, man. Okay. We're surrounded by death. Isaiah 24, verse 4, straight to the point, it says, "The earth mourneth and fadeth away. The world languisheth and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish." Everything is in a state of death, decay, okay, corruption underneath this Edomite. It says, "The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, and broken the everlasting covenant." Yeah, going back to the elites. All right, these the international banking families, man. They're the ones that control the food supply, the resources, man. Okay, the water supply or whatnot. Okay, so that's why Yahweh Shah has to come and take these devils from the power seat, man. Okay, because life cannot be sustained under the rule of this Edomite, man. Bottom line. Shalom to the next one. Shalom.